The desert night was alive with whispers. The wind swept across the dunes, carrying the scent of burning incense and distant jasmine. Lanterns swayed along the narrow alleyways of the bustling village market, casting trembling shadows upon clay walls. A young girl, no older than 12, moved silently between the stalls, her bare feet brushing the warm sand. She carried a basket of dates, a meager source of survival, her eyes bright but wary. Far above, on the cliffs overlooking the village, an opulent car rolled slowly along the moonlit road. In its velvet interior sat the woman who ruled much of the city with her keen mind and steel heart, a CEO known for her unyielding will. Her dark eyes, sharp as desert hawks, were scanning the streets when, suddenly, she froze. There, beneath the glow of a lantern, stood a girl whose face was carved from the very essence of her lost child. Every feature, every tilt of the jaw, every flicker of her almond-shaped eyes mirrored the daughter she had thought vanished years ago. The sight sent a shiver down her spine. She pressed her hand to the window, the reflection of fireflies dancing across the glass. The girl on the street sensed a sudden chill, but could not understand why. A shadow brushed past her, though the night was empty. Somewhere, a drumbeat echoed faintly, carrying with it a rhythm older than time, awakening something ancient within the wind. The CEO's curiosity turned to obsession. She had to know. Unbeknownst to either of them, the desert spirits watched. The air shimmered with unseen eyes, the flicker of fireflies masking the presence of otherworldly watchers. The girl, oblivious, continued her small trade, laughing softly with a merchant, while the CEO's heart pounded. How could fate be so cruel or so precise? As the car disappeared into the night, a single whisper drifted from the dunes. The blood remembers. The CEO gripped the seat, her mind racing with memories long buried. Somewhere, deep in the savannah and the forests beyond, the story of a stolen child had begun, and now it was being rewritten under the silver gaze of the moon. The girl paused, her senses prickling, but the whispers faded with the wind. Still, the shadows seemed to stretch longer than they should. Something unseen followed her, its presence both protective and watchful. The night had begun, and with it, a mystery that neither the desert nor the stars could hide. By sunrise, the CEO had returned to her towering city home, yet her mind remained on the girl. She summoned the village elder, a man draped in ochre robes and the wisdom of generations, and recounted the vision she had witnessed. The elder's eyes widened as he traced the lines of fate in the air with his fingers. "The child of the savannah," he murmured, his voice low like the rumble of distant drums. "Her blood carries the mark of the warrior ancestors. She has survived the forest shadows and the riverland spirits. She is not lost, she is hidden." Meanwhile, the girl wandered through the riverlands, carrying her modest basket, oblivious to the destiny approaching. Birds sang with unusual solemnity, and the reeds swayed to a rhythm older than memory. Hunters passing through the plains paused, feeling the weight of a gaze that was not human. Some even swore they glimpsed a shadowy figure hovering near the trees, an ancestor warrior guarding her path. The CEO hired trackers, skilled hunters, and even a mystic versed in ancestral spirits. Through mountains, forests, and savannah, they followed every lead, every rumor of a girl who sold goods in markets, yet carried a presence that unsettled the winds. Nights became their allies, as fireflies guided the searchers along trails only the spirits could reveal. The girl began noticing strange occurrences, reflections in water that did not match her movements, whispers in the wind, and glowing footprints that vanished when touched. Fear mixed with fascination. She could not explain why the animals seemed to bow before her, or why elders in passing villages offered knowing smiles. Something in her blood, something ancient and powerful, was stirring. Back in the city, the CEO's obsession deepened. She pored over portraits of her lost daughter, comparing every shadow, every flicker of expression. The resemblance was undeniable. She could no longer resist the pull of destiny. The girl had survived childhood's cruelty, and now fate demanded reunion, but the path was tangled with spirits, secrets, and shadows. Through whispers of merchants and wandering elders, the CEO learned of a girl in the far savannah, brave and kind yet living in poverty. She journeyed, her heart torn between hope and dread. Along the way, the desert sang with haunting melodies. Spirits of ancient warriors appeared in mirages, guiding her steps through mountains and riverlands. The girl herself discovered a talisman tucked in her basket, a locket engraved with the emblem of a family she never knew. The instant her fingers brushed the metal, visions flooded her mind, scenes of a mansion, laughter, and a woman calling her name. Fireflies spiraled around her as the talisman glowed faintly. Her heart raced. Something inside her stirred, a memory, a calling she could not ignore. In the marketplace, an old hunter approached her. "The winds have spoken," he whispered. "Your blood carries the courage of warriors. You are no ordinary child. The woman seeking you, she is your mother." The girl's knees trembled. Could it be true? She had no recollection of her parents, only the cold streets and the sharp eyes of those who sought to exploit her. Now, a figure from the city, a world of gold and firelight, was connected to her very being. The CEO finally arrived in the village, guided by the elder's signs and the hunter's whispers. She saw the girl again, closer this time, bathed in morning sunlight. The resemblance was beyond belief, her own daughter, alive and radiant despite hardships. But before she could approach, shadows stirred. Someone did not want the truth to surface. A figure emerged from the dunes, a man who had once stolen the child under cover of night, now a shadow grown older and hardened by guilt. His eyes burned with fear and defiance. "You cannot take her," he hissed. "The desert gave her life when your world abandoned her." The CEO stepped forward, fury mingled with sorrow. "I never abandoned you. I searched, I hoped, every day of your life." The girl stood frozen between them, heart pounding like ceremonial drums. Spirits appeared among the sands, warrior ancestors shimmering in firefly light, guiding and protecting. She could feel the strength of her bloodline flowing through her veins. The man lunged, attempting to flee, but the spirit's invisible hands halted him. The elders chanted ancient words, and the desert itself seemed to rise against the shadow. The girl's eyes shone as if lit from within. She could choose revenge or embrace the legacy of courage she had inherited. Under a crimson sunset, the confrontation reached its peak. Sandstorms swirled, drums echoed from the cliffs, and fireflies danced like sparks of fate. The girl, empowered by the ancestral spirits, faced her past and the man who had stolen it. With calm resolve, she spoke, "I am not just your victim. I am the daughter of the desert, of warriors, and of a mother who never gave up." The man fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the truth. The CEO rushed forward, embracing her daughter, tears streaking across her golden cheeks. Spirits circled, blessing the reunion. Across riverlands, mountains, and savannah, the winds carried their cries of relief and hope. For the first time, the girl saw herself as more than a poor street seller. She was heir to courage, love, and a legacy intertwined with mystical forces older than the sands themselves. Days passed, and life returned to rhythm, though the desert's magic lingered. The CEO restored her daughter to a world of learning, opportunity, and love, yet allowed her to honor the streets and lands that had shaped her. Elders and spirits watched from afar, proud and serene. The girl learned the truth of her blood. Courage, kindness, and resilience were her inheritance, greater than gold or power. She forgave those who had wronged her, understanding that darkness often hides lessons of light. In time, the village recognized the girl not as a poor street child, but as a bridge between worlds, human and spiritual, past and present. She walked the markets and mountains with grace, carrying her ancestors' strength and her mother's unwavering love. The desert whispered a final lesson: blood remembers. Truth finds its way. Courage defines destiny. And beneath the firefly-lit nights, the girl smiled, knowing her story was one of magic, mystery, and enduring love, a tale that would live forever in the winds of the savannah.